Welcome back to Streamline Entertainment. It is Marvin speaking. I just saw a video yesterday evening and I watched basically the last bit today. Jan's Views, brilliant show there you've got there, and guests Duncan and Mary Anna, and they were on about the trolls. And excellent, basically, guests there as well, Jan and brilliant views as well. What I found is that as the case sort of gained momentum, and we knew there were a few like dodgy faces coming out, and Ayup and Rocky, and a few other names mentioned that were basically sort of tossed all over the place. It did get people thinking. What we've got to remember is, our initial basically uh, stuff came from the tabloid, who were basically spreading all the news that MWT was saying and also putting their own little bits in it as well. This was one of the massive problems with this case. And this is why I think it turned left, because people were speculating because of what we heard. If you look at some of the outlets, what they were actually talking about, gangs and drugs in Tenerife, was he wrapped up in something? Abe's past, Jay's past. It was the papers that exploited this and put it all out to get people thinking that did something happen back home? Was this gang wars and stuff like that? And obviously the YouTubers and the TikTokers get involved in it. And then we had Lucy, Brad, then we had Brandon talking to MWT. Well, we think it was Brandon anyway. And Ayub talking to MWT and saying their thoughts. But it didn't sit right with us. So if something doesn't sit right, it could be any case, the Jake Slater case. It could be missing Jack O'Sullivan. Some people that think that he was murdered by a serial killer. We don't know that. Some people think he drowned and his body was never found. Some people think he was mugged and put in the car. We have a free mind to use. And like I said, if I personally don't feel uncomfortable in what happened to Jay, I'm going to put it out there. But what we didn't expect, or usually sometimes you've got a channel, you expect it. For me, I'm very, very thick skinned at the end of the day. I remember, like I said, Ali was attacked in going to court, not physically, but verbally, for instead of the thing with the other side is I think they've got no middle ground. No middle ground, meaning that they just can't have a normal conversation. I thought what you said was pretty out of order. Ali then comes back with, well, I don't think so. These are my viewpoints. And then you talk there. There's really no middle ground. You can't really talk to these people because they've got one way of thinking and it was an accident and they don't really want you to be talking about anything else. But that's their viewpoint. If they think like that, then I think you should keep to yourself if that's your thoughts. But what we were told, there's so many red flags through the whole case. And like I said, there still is today. And the majority of people are not happy. The majority of people are not happy with the verdict, but we've had to accept it. But like I said, it doesn't mean you have to stop talking about the other people involved in Jay, even though the Jay Slays case has been put down as an accident by the coroner in writing. We understand that. We understand that. I don't think the Guardia Civil, who a lot of both sides have mentioned about the Guardia Civil, I don't think they treated this case properly. I think it should have been more thorough. I just think it should have been a criminal investigation and then an accident. That's my personal view. Many of our ex-police and police have actually said that it should have been criminal and then basically investigated to see whether it was an accident. And the people who were last to see Jay Slater alive at the Airbnb should have been questioned, arrested, and questioned at the police station for 24, 48 hours, or how long the police can actually keep them and not letting them go home the next day. Don't forget, a lot of people who knew Jay, who were out there, a few dodgy faces, flew home the next day or the day after that to get off that island. And you've got to ask yourself, why was that? The other thing in which was weird, a lot of people changed their Facebook, their names, or got rid of their old Facebooks or their old TikToks, deleted, went private because of connections and stuff like that, which is absolutely bizarre. These days, people watch everything, underestimating people. It's like I said, I've got an investigations business, and Ali has got lots of contacts throughout the world. Throughout the world. It's like she said, her background was medical. And what I did notice, some of the points she actually brought up, obviously the Aberdeen thing, when did actually Debbie fly out at the end of the day? I don't believe at the end of the day we've truly got the correct date. To be honest with you, that is my viewpoint, and it was a top of a conversation due to messages we received. So sometimes if you put messages out there and people think, oh, it's wrong, we were told this and that. But like I said, we were told, we got a lot of private messages come through about that date. And these were people that lived around Debbie in that area as well. But like I said, that's not the topic of conversation. It's about the trolls. And like I said, but Ali Harris was willing to be honest and to dig deep and to just try and get the truth, like myself, Streamlight Entertainment, to get the truth. Ali came on board off her own back to help out as much as she can. She got three lads that basically, one of them was in Tenerife, and they knew Jay, and they knew Tom Hilton, and they knew a lot of what happened in the past. But we weren't going out there to pick fights with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I don't do that. That's not my style at the end of the day. I couldn't care less what anyone says about me, my background, who I am. I don't care. That doesn't bother me because, like I said, this channel is going to keep running and running and running, and the other channels as well. That's just the way I am at the end of the day. I'm not here to get into arguments with people. I don't work like that. All I want is to get my cases out, missing people's cases out, and seem to be helping someone or helping a family or helping someone who's in distress or helping someone who wants answers. This is what I want to concentrate on, and put something back into into life, into the world, as helping someone if I can at the end of the day, especially if they're missing, because we live in a, like I said, we live in a weird world. Strange things happen, people go missing and they're never found again. And like I said, a lot of you streamliners know that follow me know what cases we cover, and a lot of them are really, really bizarre. Jack O'Sullivan for one, missing Jack and Lily Sullivan as well. That isn't a bizarre case. A missing Gus, that's even more bizarre, which I'm going to go over into a video with an Australian friend, Don, there on another channel, because we need to put that case out as well. I think free thinking is very, very important. I do think that Duncan brought some magnificent points up. I do think both Mariana and Duncan are very, very direct in what they say. They hit the point and they make people listen. And it's a brilliant thing. People do listen to them because their thoughts hit home in what they feel is true and not true. It's as simple as that. And they don't really mince the word. I always think they're polite and professional. Yes, in the early days, much like myself and Ali, we got carried away as well with the case and probably thought, we got to be looking at this, we got to be looking at that. But actually, when you actually calm down and you look at it, and what are you going to think about the trolls? A lot of these people are not really that educated, so they can't really sit down with you and have a civil conversation without losing their temper or getting angry or trying to dox you or trying to say, oh, I know where your family live. At the end of the day, Ali the other day had a few photos, and some of them, from a troll, put my name on there from America, and said that I'd lived in Oxford. I haven't lived in Oxford for almost 15 years. Do you see what I mean? They try to locate you or trying to put the shivers up you for something they feel embarrassed about, something that's on their minds, not our minds, their minds. And these are why you get the attacks, why people get the attacks as well, because they're very much close to the truth. If these people didn't give a shit about you, then they wouldn't be entertaining you. They would just be laughing, and you wouldn't hear from them again. Why is it I've done many, over many, many years, missing persons cases, murder cases I've looked into. I've never known sort of backlash in this case than any other case before. And I just think it is because they are high profile people and it's affecting them how they run their business. It's just as simple as that. Underestimating people. I mean, a lot of these trolls do. They don't know who you know in a legal sense. They don't know basically what background you're from. They hear you talk. They sometimes go back into your early, basically, you know, TikTok or to try and find information about you, or Facebook. I'm not even on Facebook. I haven't got Facebook, and many others. Do you know what I mean? YouTube, to find out. Oh, there he is. At the end of the day, he goes to Thailand. He goes to Europe. He goes to the States. So what? So what? They've obviously dug out basically Ali and you know, her past, and you know, we're trying to say bad things about her, and what it is at the end of the day is that when you just sit back and watch what they say and do, it's just nasty. It's just to basically block people from really getting the truth. That's all it is, and that's all it is. And they'll continue and continue to do it because you know, technically some of these people haven't even got alive, and trying to stop Mariana talk is just unbelievable because what you've got to remember is she's going to get a hell of a lot more support because people are trying to stop her, and people are going to take the baton on from her if she doesn't want to discuss it anymore and carry on after it. This is what people do because people are actually thinking, well, she's made some sense here. Why are people trying to stop her? And these people on TikTok or YouTube are going to look into that. Why is she being stopped? Why is her parents? Why have someone come out with a parents' address and put it online, which is absolutely gobsmacking because it's nothing to do with them. It's sickening. Why can't they email and say, look, I don't think you should talk about this case because of such and such? And if Mariana comes back and says something, these are why I'm still discussing the case, like Jan, like myself, like Wax, then it's fair enough. You can't stop people discussing something that they feel uncomfortable about. If everybody come out and said their bit, I mean, there are people who were supposed to be Jay's friends that never even actually came out and give a statement about him, how much they loved him and how a good friend he was. Even I'm sorry, even Brad couldn't say it properly. And this is why people are looking at this case and thinking, what the hell happened here? Do you know what I mean? Because, like I said, it just seemed like too many games, too many people putting blocks in this case for us to get to know the truth. In my mind, I do know what happened. In my mind, I do know that. That's my narrative, my beliefs in my mind. And I think a lot of my stories are out there from 2 weeks into the case when I got back from holiday. And it was worrying because the whole world was talking about it. There were absolutely thousands upon thousands of people which was talking about this case. But like I said, much like Duncan said, if the other side are reasonably wanting to talk about it on some kind of podcast, not lose their temper or abuse people or trying to find someone else's a relative's address, that's just silly. You've got to be grown up about things. You have to be grown up about things at the end of the day. I'm very, very thick-skinned, and I could ignore a lot of things. But like I said, you've got to understand is at the end of the day, if someone's technically not on your level, or they can have a decent conversation with you without losing their temper, without screaming, shouting, or having any middle ground, then you can't really discuss anything with them. And these are the problems we've had in this case, just for being real. At the end of the day, Ali Harris, great friend. Duncan does brilliant on his channel. Jan's views, brilliant. Good to see her sort of flourish. Mariana, I've listened to Mariana since day one. She's absolutely brilliant. And she's got lots of followers. Wax keeps himself to himself. great guy, puts out some great contact. There was Joseph Morris, and there was many others as well, which absolutely, Mamadou was brilliant. And Duncan mentioned her, and she used to break things down, which I wouldn't even imagined what could happen at the end of the day. But I think there was a lot of truth in some of the stuff that she was saying, as well as myself, as well as Duncan, as well as Wax. And we all sort of came together. And like I said, for the first time, I'm glad that there are sleuths liaising with one another now and keeping in contact, because it makes a stronger bond as well. Thank you very much indeed, people. Don't forget to subscribe to Streamline Entertainment. There's going to be 4 videos today, because I do want to finish off part 3 on something that we were talking about yesterday, about the young lady talking to EP. So that's going to be the 4th video coming out later. Thank you very much, people. Take care.